My entitled sister always gets her way. Well, this time I'm not playing her games and I'm not letting her be the victim. I'm going to tell her exactly how I feel. Hey, so from the title, I know some have already come to their own conclusions. So I would like to declare that I'm in no way transphobic. And this isn't the reason for the situation I'm about to explain. With that said, I, 18-year-old male, came here for your advice on whether or not I'm the a-hole for refusing to let my entitled trans sister, Jordan, have her way, which caused her to try and self-delete. If by the end you think I'm the a-hole, then I'll take my L, apologize, and be on my merry way. Also, note that this will be long, so all this began about 2 weeks back. It's honestly one of the worst 2 weeks of my life, and it hurts to recap it, but here we go. Every year, my family of four goes on holidays. It's a family tradition we've done since I was a child. As soon as I and my twin hit a certain age, our parents had this thing where they would allow us to choose the spot we go to each year. This was supposed to be alternating every year, but as we grew older, my twin ends up getting favored when it comes to choosing the spot. The reason for this is that ever since young, my twin has always been the favored one. Our parents weren't the best, but while our father, Trevor, was cold and indifferent towards us, our mother, Jasmine, was more loving. For the first few years of our life, she treated us the same. But as we grew older, the favoritism grew much more clear. Maybe because my twin seemed to always have some issue arise that needed attention, or maybe it was because he was the more outgoing one than me. Meaning, 9 out of 10 times, he was often the center of attention. This favoritism only increased more once we hit the age of 9. And then my twin decided that she felt like a girl, so she decided to transition. Once the transition and the hormone therapy started, even our father started treating her warmly. And I soon realized that the reason for this is that he always wanted a daughter. So, once my twin began transitioning, his unfulfilled wish was absolutely completed, causing all the love he had to be poured onto her. Anyways, while all this was happening, I eventually became the neglected, unloved one of the family. And my twin seemed to have noticed her privilege from quite a young age and would use it on me. So she would bully me, hitting me when no one was around, stealing my things, breaking her, and just terrorizing me. At first, I would try telling our mom about it, but she would always blame me instead. Or she would just ignore it. Sometimes, she would even accuse me of lying for attention. At school, Jordan would tell my friends lies for the few who would see through her facade. But my sister would just turn on them and bully her. With life this way, we obviously grew apart, and while I disliked her in general, I never had a problem with her transitioning, as I myself am in the closet. Still, I doubt I'd have the same support from my parents as they gave my twin. Anyways, I only began to question my twin's intention to transition when she began making some rather odd comments. Comments that were clearly against what she stood for. Anyways, I had called her out on it a few times, and that ended up with me getting bullied, and even the final time getting punished by our parents because my twin lied about something else, just so she could teach me a lesson to mind my own business. Since then, I haven't called her out on it, even though I've come on to the conclusion that she has only chosen to do this as a grand scheme to get attention. And at first it seemed it wasn't a long-term plan, but now, hooked on the attention she got from it, she had decided to continue playing along. The reason for this conclusion is that I noticed she had begun lowering the dose of the hormones, and every time the topic of fully transitioning and sexuality along with other things came up, she would quickly shut the topics down. Sometimes, even getting angry at the person who brought it up. So yeah, these are my thoughts. Anyways, I apologize for ranting, but I needed to get that out. So, as far as what happened 2 weeks ago, that triggered all this, well, We got summer break, and finally, after 5 years of my twin continuously getting favored for choosing our holiday spot, our parents finally gave me the option. We were at the dinner table during this, and our parents had brought up the topic. At first, I was uninterested, as I thought that once again my twin would get the option, but our mother had surprisingly turned to me when the topics of where to go came up, and asked me, "So, where did you choose to go this year?" To tell you I was shocked would be an absolute understatement. "Huh?" was the only thing that I could muster out of my mouth. She continued talking immediately, explaining that she had gotten our results from school and stuff, and she felt I deserved to pick the place when we went this year because of my excellent performance at school. I didn't even manage to enjoy that moment of joy at the fact that she finally took notice of me after how long, before my twin had jumped in, already whining that she already chose a really good spot to go and was hoping that she'd get to go. Since all her friends were going, in fact, and also since it would be the last time she spent time together since everyone will be going off to college soon. I'd shut down once again, as I felt our parents would immediately change their mind, as they usually did. Once Jordan complained, this time, our father was the one to chip in and sternly say, "Oh, sorry, Bunny, but you chose the vacation destination for the last 5 years. It's time your brother gets to choose." Still, while that was meant to fix the situation, it only made things escalate, because almost immediately Jordan begins to cry, whining about how she had a really hard senior year, and that's why her grades weren't so good, and how she had been going through this and that, and just a typical Jordan sob story when she wanted things to go her way. I didn't even try to defend myself, as I felt that I'd only make it worse. Still, I was stunned when instead of caving as they normally did, they shut her down, saying it's very unfair that she's chosen the last 5 spots and still expected to choose this year. Our mom was surprisingly the one to call her selfish, which once again sent me mentally spiraling. I didn't get why she would be that stern about her decision, as normally she would give in, but I felt it likely had something to do with Jordan's senior grades, as our parents had gotten our results just a few days before and they started college applications for us. Even though they had not told us our grades, I knew Jordan had skipped quite a lot of classes throughout the year. Sometimes to go away with friends, other times it would be on complaints of a, mental problem or anxiety or depression, to just a bunch of stuff. Yet, every time the convo about therapy and medication came up, she'd magically feel better. So I knew that her grades were likely bad compared to mine, which I felt was the only explanation for why our parents were suddenly on my side. Anyways, once Jordan heard the word selfish, it was as if it set off an explosion inside of her, and her original whining and crying became, explosive. She was shouting, and eventually it became a chaotic scene, with her accusing of just doing the most to make our parents feel guilty, crying about all the imaginary issues she has, and just a bunch of unnecessary bullcrap. While her shouting and exploding, our parents were calm as a cucumber. When Jordan saw she wasn't getting through to our parents, she then began to pressure me. It was her usual tactics, as she's always seen me as an easy target to bully. The first thing she had done was try to guilt me into giving her the choice. But realizing I could stand my ground on it and our parents would not be on her side this time, I'd plainly told her exactly what Mom had told her before. That what she had gotten the choice of where to go the last 5 years, so it's only fair I get to choose this time. I told her if she was against that, then she was exactly as Mother had said, that she's nothing but selfish. Anyways, even though it was pretty much the same thing that my mom had said, she had blown it all out of proportion, growing absolutely hysteric and calling me all sorts of names, accusing me of things I never did, even gaslighting me. Yet, when she saw that none of that would work, she resorted to her final strategy, and that was emotional blackmail. She threatened self-harm, saying, how no one would actually care for her, because the only time she wanted something for her mental health, we had thrown her under the bus. I could see our parents growing worried after she did this. And honestly, for a while, I thought that she would change, but she didn't. Instead, she had just tried coaxing her away from her dark thoughts. She had calmed for only a second before she asked to still choose the spot, and when our parents still refused to offer something else, she went back to her hysteric form. She turned on me once again, but saying our parents still were on my side, I decided to put my foot down on my decision. That's when the little brat stormed away, telling us that since we hated her that much, she should just die, and that at least then we'll care about her. Yada yada yada. What we thought was just a tantrum turning out to be much worse as she locked herself in the room for a whole week, barricading the door and refusing to get out. Worried when in the end of the week approaching without a sound or movement from it, our parents decided to call the cops and had them break the door down. Jordan rushed to the hospital and turns out she was starving herself the whole week she was locked inside, meaning it was a clear attempt to self-delete. It wasn't the first time, but it was the worst. Seeing her hooked up to machines and in that condition pained me because I still loved her. Still, that worry and sadness quickly became resentment when our parents found a letter in her room. That maybe would have been her last message to us if they had not broken the door down, and the letter had clearly blamed everything on me. Especially pointing out how I called her selfish, making it seem like I was the trigger for everything. This caused my parents to also blame me when she took too long to wake up, saying I should not have said what I've said even though it was the exact same thing my mom was saying. Anyways, like the opportunist that Jordan was, the minute she woke up, she had chosen to ask our parents to pick the vacation spot, which she accepted without hesitation. So yeah, now I just want all this to be over and I'll be on my way to college. Away from my crazy, entitled sister and biased parents. Update number 1. Hey guys, I just got back from the vacation. I have an update on that, but first I would like to say that I noticed your feedback, and I'm surprised. Wasn't what I was expecting, but it seems many of you understand my situation. I must say your feedback has greatly eased my feelings, and it makes me grateful to know that I'm not wrong to feel the way I do. Now, as to the update. My current happiness, since I noticed a lot of you wanted to know. Well, I just returned from vacation, and let me just say, it was absolutely a disaster. Well, let me tell you all about it. My twin took a few weeks to recover from her attempt, and when she was back to her peak, the prep for the vacation begun. I was not the least looking forward to it, as none of my friends would be present, and only Jordan's, which were pretty much big bullies. I tried to invite a few friends, but once they learned Jordan would be there, with all her friends, they declined or found excuses to not be there. It hurt, but I decided to just tough it out since it was only 2 weeks. Still, who knew only 1 week could be an absolute nightmare? And from the minute we landed, Jordan had problems. None of those problems were because of our parents, but always because of me. By the end of the first day, I had wanted to claw my ears off. The first problem she had was the rooms. We had already booked our rooms before the trip, but the instant we arrived at the hotel, she starts complaining about her room and pestering me to swap. I tried refusing, but our parents, without thought, told me to just give the room up as it's nothing, and I wanted to be part of this matter, no. After the room issue, I decided to go sightseeing a little bit just to calm my mind. but Jordan began complaining that I should rest so I could be up early tomorrow to go with her when she wants to see sights. Once again, my parents shut me down when I tried to refuse it. The final straw, though, was when I tried ordering something to eat, and Jordan began whining that I should get something else since she couldn't eat that. I honestly wanted to physically hurt her at that point, but with our parents loitering around and telling me once again to do what Jordan wanted, well, I had to give in. Anyways, that was just day one because the days that followed were absolute turmoil. Jordan growing more and more demanding and, well, annoying. The last thing that drove me to, well, pack my bags and leave was when Jordan forced me to hang around her friends, and then when her friends made a pass on me, I refused. She slapped me, which I retaliated with a slap of my own. After I did that, I left to calm down and then returned back to the hotel a few hours later. I was hoping it would be the end there, but the instant I arrived at the hotel, my parents attacked me, asking me how I could do that. At this point, my mom slapped me because somehow, some way, Jordan had arrived at the hotel before with a friend and told our parents a whole different story. So, realizing it was about time I left her perfect world that was stained by my presence, I packed up and grabbed a flight back home. That was a few hours ago, so now I'm just at home. I'm wondering if I should stay at a hotel until the results of the college applications arrive. Then, once they get here, I could just pack up and leave to stay on campus. Anyways, I'm exhausted from everything, so if any changes occur, I'll keep you updated. Update number 2. So, the results of the college applications arrived yesterday. I was honestly in shock when I saw her. My parents had sent applications to 5 of the top colleges, and I had managed to get accepted to all 5. I didn't think it would be impossible, but I also did not accept it. I had to get the messages in my email earlier in the morning. It didn't take long to decide on the college, but I had decided I'd wait until my parents arrived from vacation, which they had still been on, and then I'd let them know before I sent in my acceptance letter and rejection letters. Just as I expected, they had arrived early this morning, and let me just say, delivering the news was the easy part. Everything afterward was a disaster. To recap, once my parents had walked through the door, I noticed the sullen expressions on their faces, followed by a puffy-eyed Jordan, making it obvious and clear that she was crying, and it wasn't from happiness with how haggard she looked. I surmised it likely had something to do with the results, but I didn't too careful about it. In fact, I had hoped it had something to do with it, and I wanted to rub my success inside of their face. I received the acceptance letters, and this was the first thing I had said. I had made sure to put some emphasis that it was more than one letter. I knew they also understood what was happening, and I could see they quickly were looking from me to Jordan, who was absolutely staring and already teary-eyed. "Wait, could you wait until later?" I didn't allow my mom to complete her sentence because I knew exactly, instantly. She had wanted me to consider Jordan's feelings, but I wasn't freaking having it. I'd straight up cut her off saying, "I got accepted by all 5 colleges." As sadistic as it may sound now, I had to suppress my laughter and smiling when Jordan immediately broke down crying. My dad had glared at me going ballistic, accusing me of being spiteful and saying all the nastiest things he could. All while my mom tried consoling Jordan. I admit the things my dad had said hurt, but I knew it would come, and I also wasn't expecting Jordan to be accepted into any of the colleges as her grades were crap. Even after she did her best to raise her by being a teacher's pet, skipping classes and claiming problems for attention did not pay her off very well in the long run, did it? Anyways, I didn't try to stay to hear them go any more ballistic on me for all their precious little princess's problems. I left for a hotel room and I booked it already. knowing I was better off leaving for the time being, so yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at now. Updating y'all from right now, and I know this is certainly not the end, so as soon as I sort things out, I'll update y'all later. Update number 3. So, this is going to be a long one, and I'm not happy at all, so I apologize if my tone comes across as angry. From my last update 3 weeks ago, you now know that I've gotten my acceptance letters, and after telling my parents, they've gone ballistic screaming abuse at me because they had wanted me to shut up and consider Jordan's feelings. Well, I'd gotten a call from them in the morning after. They threatened me to come home and talk to them, or they would cut my allowance and block all my cards. So I returned home, and what greeted me was an unpleasant meeting. Jordan was once again seated between both parents with puffy eyes, and the first thing the brat had said was, "Please don't go." Like my brain had registered what she was asking, but I didn't even process it, as I didn't want to believe she could truly be this entitled. Yet my denial could only go on so long. "Please don't go. I didn't get accepted, and it hurts to see you go. You know, I always wanted to be the first in our family to go to an Ivy League college. It would hurt me so much to see you go. So you could just wait until next year after I redo my senior year, and I'll reapply. Once I get accepted, you could go. Please don't be selfish and just consider my feelings." Guys, even writing this now blows my mind. I can't seem to understand or wrap my mind around how someone could make such a selfish request and make it seem like it was a genuine and responsible request. During that exchange, I had to look at my parents to be sure that I wasn't crazy, because I needed to know if they were hearing what I was hearing. And from their faces, I could tell that they clearly could. When I was convinced that in fact I was not the crazy one, I decided to ask Jordan, "Are you crazy?" I knew that was a trigger for her, because her eyes began tearing up instantly, and honestly, even though she was my twin, at that moment I could physically feel the last thread that tied us together breaking. Because I finally realized Jordan would always be a selfish, attention-seeking, entitled bully. "How could you say that? I'm only asking you to be considerate of my feelings, and in return you're calling me crazy?" That were the tearful words she had to say, believing it had an ounce of logic just to once again paint herself as the victim, realizing nothing I said or did would ever satisfy her. I'd brutally told her the truth. Too fed up to sugarcoat things anymore, and at that point, what was the worst that she could do? So I say, "No, I'll go to whichever college I want because I actually worked to get there. It's not my problem you weren't accepted because you were too busy being an attention seeker to actually work for what you want and need. I have enough of accommodating you and your selfishness." My dad shouted my name completely red in the face, and it seemed at the time he had clearly not prepared me for saying what I just did. It was as if he expected me to once again roll over like a good little boy and give Jordan whatever she wanted. But I could care less. Jordan had already had tears streaming down her face, while my mother consoled her as if I said something of the worst thing she ever heard. My dad glared at me in a warning signal to stop and not to say what I wanted to say. But honestly, at that moment, all the resentment I had boiled up and over, and everything I had been holding back over the years just came out. And I didn't bother stopping after saying that. Instead, I kept going. First, I brought up all the times from the earliest memories when I was neglected, ignored, or blamed for the betterment of Jordan. All the times I had to give up what I wanted the pleas of my twin. All the times I got punished because of her. All the times I suffered at her hand and her lies, and everything, even the time when she had just begun her transition and would get me punished for not fully understanding the use of pronouns, and also what transitioning was even about. Even when she would completely turn a genuine question, I'd ask to better understand his situation into something malicious. I realized everything, and by the time I hit the memories of our preteen years, Jordan was a hysteric mess, shouting at me and trying to argue her points while our parents pulled us apart. Still, even in this, they were mainly protecting Jordan, even though Jordan was the one repeatedly attacking me. This made it clear that even after everything, they would still stick to Jordan's side. So, I left the house crying, and eventually, to get me to shut up, my dad slapped me, which is something he's never done before. So, that was pretty much enough to tell me all I needed to know. Talking about it now makes me feel a bit lighter, as it's a heavy rock had been lifted off my chest once I released the pain in my words, sadness, and resentment that built up over the years. Still, it hurts to know I'll never be loved or cared for the way they love and care for Jordan. But, oh well, some people are giving lovely families. Absolutely love. Well, others have to build the family they want. Anyways, after that went down, I contacted the college. I asked them about a possible scholarship, as I feel that after what happened, I would not be surprised if Jordan convinced them to cut my allowance along with my tuition payments. I wasn't dirt broke, but I still would take any help to offset expenses. They said they would give me a free ride with a few requirements. That aside, they also offered the board, so all it goes well in the next 2 weeks or so, I should be off to college, hopefully. By then, I'll be able to give my final update. And it'll be a happy one, unlike the few others. Update number 4. Well, firstly, I'd like to say hoping for something doesn't necessarily mean it'll come true. And I learned that in less than pleasant ways. I'm in traffic as I type this right now, and I'm honestly mad and devastated. As you may remember, there was a big family argument because my twin did not have her way. Well, after that failed, I had expected her to rely on financial blackmail by having our parents cut my allowance, block my cards, but she instead did something far worse. Jordan goes online with a fake profile and made up a whole story on how I had dead-named and bullied her trans friend, aka her. She also created a false messages of me saying transphobic things to this so-called trans friend. This quickly garnered attention, and once it was at a certain point, she released my personal number, along with my personal social media. So not only have I been receiving nasty messages and getting completely dragged online, but I've also gotten death threats. Still, the worst thing that happened to me was my college had somehow been contacted, and they dropped me from the list, saying they would not affiliate themselves with someone as malicious as me. I was so angry when this happened that if Jordan was around, I would have surely offed her in a fit of rage. So, I went to the house to find her and she wasn't there, so now I'm hunting her down. Once I find her, I'll make her pay for what she's done. 1 week later, final update. Oh, guys. So that day, I managed to find Jordan at a cafe where she was hanging with friends. I did not hesitate to confront her, and as usual, she played the victim. But I was so angry seeing everyone come to her defense that I told her that I wish she had died when she attempted to self-delete. I could tell she was shocked by that, but I wasn't done. Taking a picture of her and all friends, I uploaded it along with some other messages from a group chat I was in with her, where she was saying racist and homophobic things. I exposed all the time she bullied other students, and to put the cherry on top, I exposed messages where she admitted that she does not have any plans of actually transitioning. She just did it for attention and clout. There, she also admitted to disliking other members of the LGBTQ+ community. I made sure to tag all the colleges I knew that she would want to apply to if she were to go back to school. along with our parents, our teachers, and just anyone else I ever knew. Once this got out of the socials and instantly flooded with similar messages to the ones I've gotten, our parents had demanded that I come back home while all this was happening. For the first time, they actually disciplined Jordan because she had caused them to lose potential business and customers with her ignorant and disgusting behavior. Many of those who had bullied me ended up apologizing, and I decided to create a petition to get back onto the acceptance list of college. I mean, it wasn't hard to get them to sign to redeem their mages. So yeah, while my life was coming together, Jordan's was falling apart. She even detransitioned and had once again attempted to self-delete. So worried for her mental health, our parents placed her into an institution to get therapy and treatment. It pained me to see that happen, but I finally felt like all the injustice done to me was paid back. Anyways, I'll be off to college in a few days, so I'd like to say thank you for the following along on this crazy roller coaster of a summer. Wow. Okay, so that story was a lot to take in. From the fact that OP's twin decides to lock herself in her room and starve her to death. Oh my gosh, to me, that's a giant red flag right there, and I don't know why they didn't try to get her help for mental issues at that exact moment. It's clear that she always gets her way, just like OP was saying, but I do have one question for you guys. If you have a twin, just like OP did, let me know in the comment section down below. How would you go about this? What would you say to your twin when things start to fall apart and you're not anywhere close to like you used to be? Drop your comments down below. That's the one question of the story, guys. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. My name's Mr. Reddito. I read stories every single day. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. Until then, I'll see ya.